World leaders will gather in Paris on Thursday for a high-stakes summit in a coalition of willing format to lay the groundwork for long-term security guarantees in Ukraine.
Turkey's president accused the opposition of sinking the economy as massive protests against the arrest of Istanbul's mayor continue.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has said he will join his wife Usha on a controversial trip to Greenland this week.
Record-breaking rains in March have brought relief to Spain after a stubborn drought last year.
World leaders will gather in Paris on Thursday morning for a high-stakes summit to lay the groundwork for long-term security guarantees in Ukraine. According to the Élysée Palace, 31 countries will be represented from the EU as well as NATO member states such as the UK, Norway and Turkey. On Wednesday evening, French President Emmanuel Macron will host his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky to start preparing for the summit. So what are some of the key topics that will be discussed on Thursday morning? Well, the first major goal is to bolster military and financial aid for Ukraine, with each participating country expected to say exactly how much they are willing to give. The second point is to obtain a complete ceasefire, an idea which has already been accepted by Ukraine, but not by Russia. And perhaps the most sensitive topic will be whether or not to establish a reassurance force. So that means whether or not to send peacekeeping troops to Ukraine. That's an idea that is strongly backed by France and the UK, but met with opposition when it comes to countries like Poland and Italy. And despite the rising tensions between the US and the EU, French President Macron is set to brief US President Donald Trump on the outcomes of the summit.
Turkey's president has accused the opposition of sinking the economy as massive protests against the arrest of Istanbul's mayor continue. The party of detained Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu called for boycott of companies that it says support President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's government. İmamoğlu was arrested last week and faces charges related to corruption and terrorism.
Bizi gayrimeşru yollarla alt etmeye gayret edenleri, ülkeyi ve milleti ateşe atacak kadar gözü dönmüşleri asla unutmadık, unutmuyoruz.
Many consider İmamoğlu's arrest to be politically motivated and a way to remove a major challenger to Erdogan ahead of presidential elections scheduled for 2028. His detention sparked the largest wave of street demonstrations in Turkey in more than a decade and deepened concerns over democracy and the rule of law.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has said he will join his wife Usha on a controversial trip to Greenland this week.
And you know, there was so much excitement around Usha's visit to Greenland this Friday that I decided that I didn't want her to have all that fun by herself, and so I'm going to join her. I'm going to visit some of our guardians in the Space Force on the northwest coast of Greenland and also just check out what's going on with the security there of Greenland.
The U.S. delegation is scaling back its itinerary with a space-based visit after the unsolicited trip drew international criticism. Usha Vance initially planned to attend the national dog sled race and see Greenland's historical sites. Greenland's prime minister called the visit highly aggressive, and his Danish counterpart echoed the sentiment a day later by saying the U.S. is putting unacceptable pressure on Greenland. U.S. President Donald Trump insisted that the visit is about friendliness, not provocation.
Serbian state authorities have until the 31st of March to respond to the European Court of Human Rights for the alleged use of sonic weapons against protesters 2 weeks ago. However, President Vučić reassured the EU on Tuesday night that the allegations were not true.
Nikakvog zvučnog topa nije bilo, da smo spremni da to provere na svaki način, da ćemo pružiti odgovor i Evropskom sudu za ljudska prava, bez obzira što to nigde u Evropi nije zabranjeno.
Anti-government mass protests have been going on in Serbia for months, mainly against corruption and local oligarchs. Top EU officials are embarrassed since Vučić has been one of their main interlocutors in the Western Balkans for almost 10 years. But for this MEP, there doesn't seem to be any other alternatives.
For the moment, I see the logic to speak with Vučić because there are no strong alternatives, clearly defined, clearly visible alternatives in Serbia politics, and that's a problem. But the reason why that is the case is that definitely European Union has neglected the situation in Southeast Europe, especially in the last 10 to 15 years. That enlargement policy was definitely completely marginal topic until the war in Ukraine started.
However, the European Union plays the card of appeasement again in the Western Balkans with Serbia, especially in order to avoid any additional problem in a region that could become again a source of tensions for the entire Europe. Sergio Cantone, Euronews, Brussels.
Slovakia continues to rid the country of animals infected with foot and mouth disease, after a state of emergency was declared across the whole country on Tuesday. Disinfection mats have been installed at border crossings with Hungary, while veterinarians and police are monitoring the situation in the field. The new outbreak of the disease has been detected in Hungary, approximately 15 kilometers from the Slovak border, near Bratislava. Slovakia's Minister of Agriculture confirmed on Tuesday morning a fourth case in the southwest of the country.
Record-breaking rains in March have brought relief to Spain after a stubborn drought last year. Spain received more than double the normal amount of monthly rainfall in the first 18 days of this month. That included normally arid regions like Andalusia, where floods forced hundreds to evacuate.
The blessing and the curse of Spanish climate is exactly that. We have these periods of extended drought that are usually ended with these kind of situations. Having said that, the rain we had in March, especially in excluding the northwestern, has been quite exceptional in most areas.
For now, the drought that began in 2023 is over. How long water reserves remain healthy depends on how much more springtime rain Spain gets and the heat of this summer. Scientists say climate change is making the swings between dryness and downpour more acute, as rising temperatures trigger extreme weather, like prolonged drought and intense rainfall.
An ongoing eruption of Hawaii's most active volcano restarted again on Tuesday when lava began pouring out of a vent in the caldera. Kilauea has been erupting on and off since the end of December, shooting tall fountains of lava into the air and spilling molten rock across the caldera floor each time it's come back to life. Hawaii Volcanoes National Park said the latest eruption wasn't affecting any residential areas. The current episode is the 15th of the ongoing eruption, which has been a popular attraction for tourists. Wind-driven wildfires in the southern regions of South Korea have killed at least 18 people and forced thousands to evacuate. They were among the worst ever recorded in the country. Thousands of firefighters, soldiers, and other personnel worked to extinguish the fires on Wednesday after strong winds caused them to spread overnight. An ancient Buddhist temple was destroyed, as well as houses, factories, and vehicles, as the fires burned over 43,000 acres of land.
Brazil's Supreme Court accepted charges against former President Jair Bolsonaro over an alleged attempted coup to stay in office after his 2022 election defeat. The 5 justices voted unanimously to put Bolsonaro on trial on 5 counts, including involvement in an armed criminal organization.
Há indícios razoáveis de recebimento da denúncia da Procuradoria-Geral da República, que aponta Jair Messias Bolsonaro como líder da organização criminosa, demonstrando a participação do ex-presidente da República com os elementos de prova colhidos na investigação da Polícia Federal.
Bolsonaro has repeatedly denied wrongdoing and says he's being politically persecuted. Under Brazilian law, a coup conviction alone carries a sentence of up to 12 years. When combined with the other charges the former president faces, it could result in a sentence of decades behind bars. A woman accusing French actor Gérard Depardieu of sexual assault told a trial on Wednesday that he groped her several times in 3 separate incidents on set. Day 3 of the trial focused on the testimony of the woman who said she was alone with Depardieu for a moment near a film set when she was assaulted. Depardieu denies any sexual assault.
À partir du moment où il l'a traitée de menteuse, elle a refusé de lui répondre. Ma cliente n'est pas une menteuse. Mais en revanche, je tiens à préciser qu'il y a effectivement énormément de mensonges dans cette audience, mais ils ne sont pas de notre côté.
Depardieu acknowledged that he used vulgar and sexualized language with one plaintiff. He said he grabbed her hips during an argument, but denied that his behavior was sexual.
C'est du bon sens. Il ne va pas définir ce qu'est une agression sexuelle devant un tribunal qui le juge pour agression sexuelle. Ceux qui ont le pouvoir de dire ce que c'est vraiment la signification de ce qu'il a dit, ceux qui ont le pouvoir de dire ce qu'est une agression sexuelle sont les juges.
The French actor faces up to 5 years in prison and a fine of €75,000 if he's convicted.